You can call it science, you can call it an art, but change management is something that you need to know more about. And my guest is an expert in exactly that. Her name is Kimberly Shaw. She's from the Greater Toronto area, and she runs a company called Changeify. And I'm really excited to be able to share things that just you need to know when it comes to
I
change
want to
management.
call out something that you mentioned and around competences and leadership that I think matter. So most organizations, have a top five, top 10 that they not only hire by, but they also fire by, but they develop somewhere in between. And so as part of change design, in alignment with metrics and what we measure, what we could measure, we will revert back, or we will consistently align with what a good citizen or a good employee or a good contributor looks like. Are we doing work that contributes to those competences, those core capabilities, these key capabilities that an organization seeks? We hope so. We should be. And so that's a layer. But I think there's also a piece in what I would call really, really good embedded change that goes a step further. And that's in informing the organization where they should be looking, additional capabilities that will be really important to future-proof the organization, gaps they may have in terms of this high-level holistic view of what good looks like with what better may be. But leaders are at the forefront of that because they're often operating around frameworks that promote now. They're not operating around development and frameworks about tomorrow and what they need to look like, especially after a change is embedded. So I think there's a line, and my belief is that by investing in those capabilities, there should necessarily be a trickle-down effect through the organization. Formally
So
or
we talk about
informally.
leadership. Talk about leadership for just a second. And a new leader comes into an organization, and especially senior leaders, C-suite kind of change, right? Old one leaves, new one comes in. They have a certain window that they have where they need to institute and prove that change of leadership was worth it, right?
Yeah.
How does change management play a role in that? Because I'm thinking it's, 60 to 90 days. I mean, everybody measures the first 100 days, right?
Yeah,
The first 100 days in a new role.
Day
And
one, two, whatever. Yeah.
right. And that's when they take the pulse to say, hey, was this change worth it? How does that fit in change management? Because now you're really tied to making change in an expedition. You've got a defined period.
Yeah, I think again, it's a matter of positioning and framing. I don't think there's anything wrong. In fact, I think it's imperative to have those short-term benefits and results identified, and then your mid, and then your long, should you care. Right? Again, back to the suggestive, recommended, advised. If you see this, then you probably will see this, right? Good, bad, or anything in between. And connecting those as well. So I think what you're pointing out is really quite typical. I think we've got the short term nailed for the most part, and I think that generally those are the ones chased because they kind of prove the engagement, right? Those are the things we want to report on because they are good, they look good, they will be good. I think the pieces that invite themselves, especially in the middle, are those things that follow, and that's as roles stabilize, as the organization settles into that post-change state, as they uncover and discover, I'm going to say, new problems, follow-on problems that also demand attention and solution, not because anything's wrong, but because people are actually doing the things and making the discoveries and learning and improving as they need to. So I think there has to be some accommodation for at least a view on those things with a recommendation. So I will present those, whether we're tracking them actively. And I mentioned earlier, we want to find those shepherds and stewards and those functions that are synergetic with us to lay down that ownership and build the alignment around what we could and should be measuring. But to also build in that expectation, again, that this is not a single event. It has a lifetime that goes well beyond, the short-term, results that we're all chasing. But ideally, to get the maximum value, and this is my operations background talking now, because that was my frustration and why I went into this world, is the value realization. There has to be a view of the value chain. right? And I think a lot of that, if it doesn't resonate with us, probably should now more than ever, because value is tricky.
Yeah,
It's tricky. And I think it's also being shown that while there's certain things that we would want to control, we would want to, pound stakes into the ground around more short term, it is also tricky to extend that view because it's less predictable. It's
right.
it's
And I was going
potentially,
to ask you about the uncertainty as well. So
yeah,
there's a certain change management is easy when you can see well, not easy, easier. Change
easier.
management is easier when the finish line is in sight, right?
Yes.
When the finish line is uncertain, and certainly when we're in a global time, and we've been through the last 5 years or so, we've been through a lot of uncertainty
Yeah.
around what the future holds for certain companies. A lot of companies don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like, let alone set a vision for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, and how about that? And I think, and to add to it, to stack on a little bit more, uncertainty and anxiety, and it's moving fast. So there is this idea of speed, which I think resonates as well, right, with some of these
Right.
concepts around lean, six, all these pieces, agility. There's that as well. So all that to say, it becomes incredibly important to be predictive and committed to the things that the things that you can, but to also be committed to what that future state looks like. What does that look like then? That requires that's that's leveling up. That's elevation in my mind in the practice for sure. Now, people who are potentially listening to this are gonna hear that and think, I know when my job is done, I'm out, right? Because that's the report I'm writing to, the CXO or to the sponsor or to the stakeholder. But the real value, and I see it, I live it, I believe in it, is being able to condition organizations around future state. If you're going to future proof, you need to have your arms around a few things. One big question, and it's surprising how many times it's not clear, or you'll hear a different version from each person that you may be speaking to, who occupy a leadership role in an organization, or between leadership and management, for example. That's another area. Is what does the organization need to look like in 6 months, in a year? What does good look like? If we were successful doing XYZ, what does that look like to you? What are the conditions that need to be in place? And do we have them today? That's right. So we can guarantee all sorts of short-term success that honestly may not even be appropriate or representative of any level of future proofing or resilience, right? To your point about capability, those kinds of things that we're trying to build in. Usually those questions point to a workforce, an organization, a department that can function in those conditions,
Right.
that have characteristics and qualities through this change or others to be able to respond, adjust, integrate, synthesize, right? So what I see emerging very rapidly is a rewriting of, the top 10, top 20 characteristics, right, of not a great employee, but a future-proof employee in a future-proof organization.
And I want to throw this out there. I think one of those characteristics is curiosity. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? We can only live with so much certainty. We have to have a certain dose of curiosity about what's next. Where is this going? What's coming down the pipeline? What can I do to be a part of the future? I have curiosity by nature, but not everybody does. So how do you help foster some curiosity?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about a few of those things, finding roles, right? Finding jobs, right, for people, meaning, tasks and activities that reward, in fact, are only delivered successfully with curiosity. But we're back to safety again, right? There has to be safety in asking questions and providing things, the supports, the materials, right? The avenues through which to not only support curiosity, but to fuel it, to
Right.
ignite it, right? There's an ignition effect, I think, in curiosity. I think it's also providing responsibly some fences around that, directing curiosity in the general directions. And again, it comes back to what kind of, organization do we aspire to be? What kind of organization, right? Do we invest in, which therefore supports certain behaviors, right? Which leads curiosity in a direction. I think there's also this piece as well that with curiosity, and I think that is where fear gets entangled, right? It tied again to safety, but it's less, what curiosity does when it's supported and enabled is it reduces fear of the future.
Right.
It's this idea that the future
Yes.
is the opportunity. It is the thing to be curious about. It is the most exciting part in many respects. What we know
Absolutely.
and what we knew is done.
Right.
We've got
Right.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So what's been the most influential book that you've read in the last 5 years, whatever, 3 years? Pick a time frame.
So influential book. Oh my gosh, I read so much, and it's not so. I work between trade and not trade, but I do want to plug a recent work, and I hope I can do this. That not only have I read but been privy to as a contributor is Julie Hodges' Manning and Leading People Through Change Management, through organizational change. Multi-edition, considered seminal to practice. Why I'm mentioning it is that it's an opportunity for individuals to not only read about it, but to actually be exposed to case studies, real
Very good.
application of the theory. So thinking is one thing, doing is another, around key aspects of managing and leading people through change, but also what's facing us now and in the future.
If you got value out of this conversation that I'm having with Kimberly, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. Tell your friends, share this video or these videos with your friends and colleagues, because that's how change management happens. That's how continuous improvement is people just sharing best practices. And I want to thank you, Kimberly, for your openness to share some of your experiences and lessons with us today. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Time went by fast, didn't it?